very much. And so we'll next bring up the three speakers one by one, and then we'll do Q&A afterward. So if you've got questions, just make a note and hold on to them. But first up is Kontji Anthony.
Well, good afternoon. I have to tell you, I'm so used to talking about everybody else, it was kind of hard to talk about myself. So anyway, I thought I would start with my beginnings. Oh, that one. Okay. Yeah, that's me. And I put the music on this because this kind of tells you how long I've been doing news. Well, okay, TV. This was high school. I was in Views from the Bridge. I was one of the hosts. So I just wanted you to hear that sound because it's hilarious. But I found that in my career, I never wanted to be a news anchor. I wanted to write sitcoms. I'm not that funny. I think I can, you know how you're funny but not funny? And so then you can, anyway. But it just seemed that obstacles in my life and things that I didn't expect kind of led me down the path to what I'm doing. So basically, I had to have an elective in high school, and it just so happened they had a TV station, and so I said, okay, I'll try this. It'll fit the elective. And it was the first time that I ever felt like it was using all of my faculties. I would get bored with everything. And so there I am, doing the TV stuff, and it was technical. You had to use, you had to use your words, all that kind of stuff. So that was something that really changed my life. So I chose to go to Spain for an overseas college exchange. And I had gotten an internship at Disney. And so I said, hey, can I go to Spain and come back and do the internship? And they were like, sure. When I got back, it was gone. Okay, that was a window that I did not jump through, but I still feel like it was supposed to lead me here. And then another one was, I was behind the scenes. I got a job at WCBS, that's the CBS station in New York City. And my coworkers were like, I worked like 4 a.m. to noon. And so my coworkers were like, since no one's there, we want you to run the teleprompter for us so we can put our reels together. And then one of them was like, you're gonna do yours too. I was like, okay. So I blow dried my hair. Yeah, I never do that. And I put on red lipstick and I sat there on that anchor desk. And then one of them called me and they were like, hey, there's a job opening. So it was just, after I put my reel together. So like I said, it just seemed like all these things that were blocks ended up not being what I thought at the time. So that was kind of that's a beauty. So I've had a 25-year TV journey. And these are all, every time zone. So yeah, I've been everywhere. And this is the first place where I was only supposed to be here 2 years. And now it's gonna be 15 years in July. Yeah. Who knew? So this really is the essence of what I've learned in my business is that this.
Shelby County Schools tells me more than 10,000 children have not shown up for class. And we've learned that some children have no plans to attend school this week for reasons beyond their control.
I want to go to school, but I can't. I want to go learn, but I can't. I want to go be around my friends, but I can't.
Porter Goodwill Boys and Girls Club Program Director Demario Byers says at least 20 kids at his South Memphis branch alone are out of school simply because they grew out of their clothes.
Got on flip-flops because their feet have outgrown their tennis shoes.
Sometimes he comes out of his own pocket, remembering when he experienced this firsthand.
You're embarrassed. It's like a major blow to your self-esteem.
Financial advisor Ben Prudham is chairman of the newly established Boys and Girls Club of Greater Memphis Young Professionals Council.
It just cuts right to the core of most people to see children who, don't have the basic things that they need.
This Friday, the young professionals will answer the call by holding a drive at the study on Willis Drive in East Memphis.
I'm gonna go ahead and advance this because I was just, we're gonna talk about that in a moment. But I showed you that because, there are days when I'm just like, oh my goodness, that was so sad. I'll see some news of something terrible, but then there are these days when you get these stories that you get to do. Now, after that story, we had this drive, and when I tell you, we didn't have enough people to collect all of the clothes and the school supplies that people brought, and these kids, you know, it was so beautiful to see the community activate. I also remember once a Hurricane Katrina evacuee had a baby who could not go back home to breathe the air, and I did a story on that. And then the next thing I know, the next morning, somebody was donating an apartment. There were nurses who were like, we will block out time, you know, to watch the child. Somebody donated furniture. So it was just, it's really, I found that 80% of my life is really about what I'm doing with the community, as opposed, and I'm 20% broadcaster, because, you know, I'm on at 5 p.m. as a matter of fact. But, you know, there's only so much time you can be on the air, so then what are you doing the rest of the time? Well, what people might not know is that you know, there's an elderly man saying, I've had garbage heaped up. You know, I'm not gonna call the city every time and try to embarrass them, you know. So I just help walk this person through, this is who you need to talk to get this done. And so a lot of my time, you know, my emails and my phone calls are community calls, you know. So that is something that I just feel very strongly about. Okay, so I figured I wouldn't just talk about me and just get a snapshot of the industry and what it's like in news. And so I was looking up some stats, and it was interesting to see just kind of the gap where, you know, as you can see, female news directors, you know, how much less they're making than their male counterparts, TV, radio. Then you also just kind of, if you look at that picture, it kind of tells the story of, you know, what our evening news is like on a national level. You know, I'm not just a woman, I'm a woman of color, obviously. And so, you know, I also found this to be interesting that, you know, about 12.6% of local TV news, women of color. So that was interesting. But more than half of the US population, and people of color, nearly 40%. This one is the light spot where there is growth of women in newsrooms. And so it's grown, for example, in newsroom employees 39% to 41.7%. So that was 2017 to 2018. So there is some growth where women there's an uptick. Okay, now this is personal. Okay, so you know how there's a guy who's in the business and then there's a girl who's in the business and then like there's a difference. So there was this anchor who wore the same suit every day to make a point, and nobody said anything. Trust me, I cannot do that. One thing as a woman I would find in broadcasting is that you don't really get those vacation days that people, like news, you're supposed to be there when everybody else can watch you. So you work evenings, you know, you don't have time for family sometimes. There are people who tend to feel like they know you, and it might be a man, and he might send you inboxes of things. So you have people who kind of latch onto you. And, you know, I guess the difference between me and the other two beautiful ladies here is that I guess the brand is me, like I'm the business, if that makes sense. And also, you know, scrutiny, you know, just literally every word. Sometimes when you're in public, you're just like, oh, you know, don't shoot me, because you're there, and there are people who might not like the story you're covering. I have been, you know, physically attacked by gang members when I was in California. That was not fun. And personal appearance is another thing where, you know, every day you have to. If it's television, you don't want to distract people, right? So, you know, those are some of the obstacles. But there is beauty in what I do, and it is, you know, helping to change lives as well. I do find that it is important to have different perspectives, you know, women in business, to be there to give a perspective. Do you guys remember the dress? Who's seeing gold? Who's seeing blue? Oh, okay. Well, anyway. So I do feel that we each see the world through our own prism, and being a woman, that is a very specific thing. And so I've found that it has actually helped me and been my strength in my business and what I do, and being able to tell give stories a whole view. And so I leave you with this quote: "She overcame everything that was meant to destroy her." But thank you for letting me talk. It's really an honor to be able to be a member of the broadcast community in Memphis, and I look forward to any questions when we sit down.
Alex Castle is Master Distiller at Old Dominick Distillery.
This is fantastic. All these women in one room. This is awesome. I usually have to talk to a bunch of old men, so it's way more fun.
I'm right here.
Sorry. As we said, I am a master distiller at Old Dominick, and that is not a title you hear very often when talking about a woman. So there were just a few obstacles I had to face to get to where I am today. I was kind of one of those weird people who, at a very early age, decided what I wanted to do with my life, and I actually stuck with it. At 15 years old, I decided I wanted to make bourbon. I swear. And I did not drink in high school, so don't ask me what drew me to it. I have no idea. But at 15, I decided I wanted to be a master distiller, and I stuck to it. At the time, I didn't know that it was weird to be a girl and want to be a master distiller. I didn't know that there were expectations for men to do that job. I was fortunate enough to have parents who never looked at me and said, "You can't do something because you're a girl." Only once did they say there was something I couldn't do, and it was because I wanted to be a racing jockey. Once I hit 5'1", I was too tall. They crushed my dreams. But to become a master distiller, I decided to study chemical engineering. So I attended the University of Kentucky. And during school, I didn't really think about the statistics of women versus men in engineering. In chemical engineering, it's almost 50-50, so you just didn't think about it. When I got out of school, though, I started seeing the statistics. In 2009, only 17% of students enrolled in engineering programs were women. I graduated in 2010, so that number very much applies to my experience in school. And also something I didn't think about when I was in school was in 5 years of engineering courses, only one professor that I had was a woman. I don't think that's changed very much in the 10 years that I graduated. But again, I didn't think about those things. I just was going to school. And when I was in school, I also did a co-op. I worked for a company called Alltech. And I was in 2 different departments in my time with them, engineering as well as their brewery and distillery. In both areas, I was the only woman. I was fortunate, though. None of my male coworkers ever treated me differently than the others. They never looked at me and said I couldn't do something because I was petite or short, or just simply because I was a woman. At the brewery, once the guys taught me how to do something, they actually were relieved because that meant they didn't have to do it. Flash forward to my first job out of college. Little different experience there. I worked for a detergent manufacturer called Sun Detergent. So I made laundry detergent for a year. It's very thrilling. And in my department, I was one of 5 supervisors. And again, I was the only woman. My fellow supervisors were terrific, loved them. My operators, same thing. It was my boss that was the problem. He was one of those who did not respect women, did not think they could manage, didn't think they were capable of handling stressful situations. So I'd be in meetings with all of them, make a suggestion, and he would just sit there as if I didn't say anything. One of my male counterparts would wait a minute or 2 and repeat my suggestion. My boss thought it was a genius idea, and we had to implement it immediately. Happened all the time. He would talk down to me, belittle me. It got to a point where it actually was an HR issue, which was not surprising because I was not the first woman to be a supervisor in his department. not a single female supervisor lasted more than a year working for him. No one actually wanted to be demoted and go back to production because she hated him that much. There was a little bit of justice, though, because a couple months after I left, I found out he got demoted. HR finally followed up on the issue. After my year of soap making, I made it back into the bourbon world and worked at Wild Turkey for 4 years as a distillery supervisor. Across the entire facility in 3 shifts, there were about 12 supervisors. Like with everywhere else I worked, I was the only female for those 4 years. But kind of like my co-op, I was fortunate. Really, no one treated me differently. I eventually actually became the most senior supervisor. There were 2 people, though. One of them was higher up, and he didn't think women belonged in the industry. He didn't think we were capable of doing any of the things that he did. Fortunately, I didn't really work with him, so I could just ignore him and pretend he didn't exist. The other one, on the other hand, I had to work with daily. He would talk down to me, treat me, because at the time I was 24, treat me like I was a kid, because he, I think, was old enough to be my grandfather. And I got very skilled at ignoring pretty much anything he said. I found by not acknowledging his discouraging comments that it took the power away from him. Didn't make him stop saying those things, but it no longer meant anything. And then in 2015, I moved to Memphis. In doing so, I became the first female head distiller since Prohibition in the state of Tennessee. Thank you. I did not know that was the case until afterwards, but it tells you the state of this industry. And in 2019, I got promoted to master distiller. To this day, I am only one of 3 women in the state of Tennessee that hold that title. Now, like I said, given the state of the industry, Tennessee's actually not doing too bad. That is a huge improvement over what it was a couple years ago. But the thing is women have been a part of this industry almost since its inception. We have a better sense of taste, better sense of smell. So we've been master tasters and master blenders for decades. But for some reason, we just never could get the title of master distiller. It took so long that even in Kentucky, the birthplace of bourbon, they didn't get their first female master distiller until 2015. What took so long? Now they do have multiple, which is great. But now we're even seeing women open their own distilleries. There's one in Virginia, Silverback Distilling. The owner, Christine Riggleman, is also the master distiller. But she decided to take it one step further. She decided to put her name on a bottle of whiskey. She was the first woman ever, not even since Prohibition, ever to put her name on a spirits product. And that was only 2 years ago. And while all of those firsts are amazing, and I am glad that I've been able to witness all of these changes, I'm also glad that I didn't know the statistics and the facts before moving to Memphis in 2015. I really think I would have found them to be discouraging. And instead of lighting a fire in me, I really think it would have been a reason to quit. And I didn't set out to break down any barriers or shatter glass ceilings. I didn't know those barriers and ceilings even existed. And honestly, I think that is a big part of my success. I didn't focus on or acknowledge any limits to my dream. To me, limits don't exist until you set them. So don't set them. And I want to close with one more thought. I often get asked what it's like to be a female master distiller. And I have grown to really hate that question. I am a female. I am a master distiller, but why do we always have to connect the two? Why can't it just be what's it like to be a master distiller? Thank you.
And last but not least, Alexis Pugh is Director of Memphis Animal Services.
I will do my best to stay by the microphone, but it tends to be unnecessary for me, so. But I know the recording folks appreciate it if I do that, so I will do my best. Yes, as Eric said, my name is Alexis Pugh. I am the Director of Memphis Animal Services, and in most cases, I am in jeans, sneakers, t-shirts, holding dogs like that. So me blow drying my hair was a big deal, Kontji. So I actually took a quite tumultuous journey to get here, not the path you would think of someone who is going to be an animal shelter director. I actually started also as a broadcast journalist. Could have fooled me, right? From the University of Maryland. I started in Maryland at WBOC, and then I came here to Memphis. That's actually what brought me to Memphis in 2004. I knew no one in the state of Tennessee but my great aunt Nancy in Knoxville. So got in the car and came to Memphis, Tennessee, and then I spent a little bit of time in Florida doing some executive producer work when I decided TV was no longer where I wanted to be. So I came back to Memphis and worked at Destination King, now known as Leo Events. I did corporate event planning. And all of these things, while seemingly disparate, actually I think brought a lot of relevant skill sets to what I do now. A big chunk of what I do every day is communicate, and so certainly broadcast journalism skill sets are critical. And then doing event planning, I built budgets, logistical plans, had project management skills. So there's a lot of things that were very transferable that I found to be really relevant today. She agrees. And then that's when I switched over to my passion. And I think that the key message is here is use the skills you're good at to do the work you're passionate about, right? How can you connect those two things together? And so I had the opportunity to serve as an advisory board member at the Humane Society. That turned into a career for me, and a career that has continued to this day. I left the Humane Society, took over Spay Memphis to try to expand their impact in our community in terms of proactive spay and neuter for pets. And that is when, in 2016, Mayor Strickland asked me to join his administration to take over Memphis Animal Services. That was kind of a big year for me because something else was going on. I had a baby, so I literally came off of maternity leave to start at Memphis Animal Services. Now, forgive me a little indulgence. This is my girl now. So 4 years into the career, almost 4 years in, how could I not? That's my baby girl, Marley. So I wish the rest of the images I were going to share with you were as adorable as my daughter. I'm not going to show cruelty pictures. Don't worry, Laura. I'm not showing dog cruelty pictures. She'll walk out of the room. She can't do it. What I'm going to show you are the horrible things that people said to me and the thing about what had happened before I arrived. This is what I walked into, okay? This was the history of Memphis Animal Services. Abuse. Shelter dog killed that had guaranteed adopter. Abuse. Dog put down. Protests planned this weekend. And I was given not a second to make the changes necessary to fix the problems. Day one, I was now part of the problem. The attacks began immediately. These are quotes on social media. I mean, I started in June. By September, replace her. She doesn't care. She is a liar. Surely with a bit of intelligence, your recruiters can find better than this heartless being. I took this job because I love animals. I mean, talk about a shock. You're like, who are they talking about, me? What? Yeah, on my 3-month anniversary, there was a petition that went online, get rid of me. I hadn't fixed 70 years of problems in 3 months, folks, in a municipal government environment. How dare I? Yeah. So, here's one thing that I think everyone in this room can really take notice of. Women, please stop attacking other women. Please leave other women alone. We blocked out her name. I actually wouldn't have had this been on a public page, but it was on a private group, so I felt like we kind of stalked and saw it, so I shouldn't say it. This looks, no, I'm sorry, that's the wrong line. This one. This woman wrote, about this petition, but maybe if nothing else, her being a woman, she'll buckle under the scrutiny. LOL. This is what a woman wrote. There were more. There were women who said, maybe she's a new mother. This is too much for her. We don't need a new mother doing this. These were comments from women. So, side note, please let's support each other, because it was absolutely shocking that the people who were the meanest were also women, working women, mothers. It was unbelievable. So, I kept my head down. I did the work, because what else are you going to do, right? I'm also not on Facebook. That is a very big, important key. So I spent my time doing the things that mattered, strengthening, changing policies and procedures, getting community involvement through adoption, foster, volunteers, rescue, media. We changed the organizational chart. We added key positions. We put the right people in positions. And I helped the people who were in the wrong positions move on to their right future career. And then the people who were in the right positions, I got out of their way. If you are a manager, hire the right people and get out of their way. You hired them for a reason. If you don't need them, then stop paying them. If you're going to do the work yourself, why are they there? And then another big thing, of course, and any of you who follow us on social media or are familiar, we've implemented dozens and dozens of new life-saving programs from transports. In fact, yesterday we sent 95 animals on 2 transports to Minnesota and Illinois. 124 animals left our building yesterday. It was a great day. Owner surrender intervention. That means we're helping people who want to keep their pets keep their pets. Shelter surrender should not be your only option. We should be a resource. 50% of our adult dogs come in heartworm positive. We got grants. We treat for heartworms, so that's not a barrier to adoption. And that is the tip of the iceberg, and I will not go into any more detail than that about our programs. What I will talk to you today about are the leadership values that I implemented to get us where we were going, that I think are translatable to any field that you work in today. Be confident in your purpose. You were hired for a reason. Someone picked you. There are a lot of people who have other opinions. They did not get the job. You got the job. Be confident in what you do, because you're there for a reason, and if what your purpose is wrong, someone's going to let you know about it, right? If Mayor Strickland doesn't like what I'm doing, I have a feeling he's going to let me know, okay? You decide what success looks like. No one else gets to decide that. That means you set the agenda, you set the priorities, and you make sure that those things are being followed. Because again, it is your mission to accomplish. For us, data and best practices win. I can't tell you how often I have people say to me when I say we have implemented programming that works in cities across the country that have eliminated shelter euthanasia for space. I have people tell me, well, that won't work in Memphis. Why not? Why not? We're a city too, and if you don't like our city so much, maybe you should move. But Memphis is a place just like anywhere else. Data and best practices win. We copy and follow what people in other cities around the country are doing, and that is what has helped us achieve success. Negative feedback, as you saw, something I deal with, and you'd think at a 90% save rate, maybe some of that would go away. No. Still a lot of negative feedback, a lot of people who think they know better than we do. So what we have learned to do is not say no. We've learned to say, how do we deal with it? And the key is be resilient. Remember confidence in your purpose. Remember what success looks like, and rely on your peers and your teammates and the people in your life that are mission aligned with you. Surround yourself with people that are mission aligned with you, and together you can reinforce good and turn down the negative. Better is better. Celebrate incremental change. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. I use 2 analogies here. For those of you who maybe struggle more with your weight like I do, I will use a weight loss analogy. For those of you who are athletic and wonderfully in shape, I will use a training for a marathon analogy, which I have zero familiarity with. But weight loss, right? So let's say I want to lose 50 pounds. If I beat myself up on day 1 of my diet because I haven't lost 50 pounds, I'm going to be defeated and I am going to probably give up. Celebrate 1 pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 5 pounds. If it's a marathon, I ran a mile today. I ran 2, I ran 5. Celebrate that you're better than you were yesterday. Being better today is all that matters, because that means you'll be better tomorrow. So please don't beat yourself up because you're not there yet. If you're on the path, keep going. Share your passion with people. Give them the resources they need. We empower our team. We get to know them as people. We share information. I don't want to be the only one who can teach lessons about why spay and neuter is important. Every single staff member in our facility knows why spay and neuter is important, from the hourly part-time kennel tech right up to our officers in the field. I have one guy, Christian, if you ever come to the shelter, he's the best guy ever, but his fiance is actually getting mad at him because everywhere they go, he asks people if their dogs are spayed and neutered. And she's like, can we just have dinner at Carrabba's? Like, do we have to talk about this tonight? But be accessible with your time and words. Remember, not everyone has the same ability to sort of take a complicated topic and digest it down. Create talking points for your team. Don't leave them out to dry. Give them the tools by giving your words. You're the expert, right? What can you give them that makes it easy and simple for them to share with the public? And it is going to tenfold multiply and amplify your message. And reinforce good habits with positive recognition. That's a basic leadership skill, right? Like, we can't just only call people into our office when they're in trouble. Call them in. I have a candy bucket in my office, and I tell people, I don't care if you don't even talk to me. Come get candy, because I don't want my office to be a scary place where only bad things happen. I walk around all the time and tell them how great they are, because the work is hard that these people do. It is hard, and they need to know that their contribution is valued, whatever that contribution looks like. And be willing to do the work yourself. I promise you I have cleaned kennels. I promise you I've bathed dogs. I promise you I've helped in surgery. I promise you that what it is, I have done it. If the job has, we had a case with 40 German Shepherds that were seized for cruelty. I was in the house with them. It was at 8 o'clock at night. I had worked a full day. I was back out at that house with them, with my team, supporting them. Do the work yourself. That it goes so far to show your team that you're willing to get in there and do it alongside them. So, like I said, in 2019, our save rate is now 89.8%. And for a little perspective, in 2009, 10 years ago, it was 19%. Yeah. We have not euthanized a cat, small breed dog, or puppy in over 3 years at Memphis Animal Services, unless there was a severe medical reason to do so and it was for suffering. So we are rocking it out there, folks. We are rocking it. And I'm proud to say that the messaging through those consistent leadership philosophies has changed today. Here's a story, improved save rate. There she is. I told you were in this, Kontji. We just can't get enough of her. An editorial in the Commercial Appeal. So we're really grateful. This is online. This is one of our great partners. There are no words that can describe the hard work and dedication of the staff. They're awesome. They fight for animals every single day. So thankful for the hardworking staff. Everyone's working so hard. I appreciate that. Diane Thornton, amazing director. 100% engaged staff make a visit to MAS a breath of fresh air. So I close with this. And Katie, who works on my team right there, is going to laugh at me because I almost always get a little teary-eyed. So because I just think that this sums up everything. It just, believe this, especially if you have work that you do where you're challenged and where you're questioned and where you're doubted and where you're treated badly. And it's called The Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. Tape it on your wall. When you have a bad day, read it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read the first couple of lines. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena. See, I'm going to do it. Whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again. But go on, go on, go on. I won't read the whole thing. But the point being, you are the man in the arena, or in this room, you are the woman in the arena. Be proud of what you do. Be confident in your purpose. Turn down the haters. And know that if you are strong as a leader, your team will be strong and you'll be successful together. Thank you.
If y'all want to come up, and Kontji's on a clock. What do you have to? You have to do something at 5. I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah. No. So, but you're still good for now. Okay. And she's gonna tiptoe out here in the midst of this, which is obviously totally fine. Thank you all. That was awesome. Those were amazing stories. Did Tyler go? Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story about Tyler. This is what it is to be a guy. I see he's got a pen. He's holding a pen when I come in, and I look at it, it's the same pen I have. And he and I stand there and talk for 2 minutes about how cool these pens are. And then he said, I like them so much I have a backup. And I went, and I pulled out my second one. And I go, I do too. Anyway, it's great to be a guy. It's just pitiful, really. It's just pitiful. Do we have questions? I can do questions, but I bet we have questions in the crowd. Yeah, right there. Right, and speak up. Definitely speak up, and when you're asking the question, because the acoustics are a little funny. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. It, for me, is the coolest job that I could ever imagine. I get to be creative because I get to develop every product we put out there, but I also get to be very technical, so the engineer in me is super satisfied. But beyond that, once you get to this point, I get to travel. I got to go to Italy and DC last year. I get to go to Portland in a couple of weeks, so there's a whole lot of fun that goes with that as well. And then I also get the opportunity to meet people like you guys, and that makes my day. We had met briefly, but you didn't remember, which is fine, because I was one of 20 people. No, I knew I said that wrong. I didn't mean it that way. But we did, my girlfriend and I did a tasting with probably about 20 people, and you walked us. It was fascinating, and she's amazing. It's not an endorsement of Old Dominick Brewery, but it is of you. It was really cool, and I didn't know anything, and I'm sipping all these different whiskeys and vodkas, I think, and probably. And you guys do those how often? So we do tours and tastings Thursday through Sunday.
Okay, it's really cool, and she's really fascinating and interesting. Other questions from out in the crowd? Right up there.
So based on all of your experiences, it looks like you guys are the outliers than the norm. And your observation, what do you think of things that women self-limit themselves, and what is your advice on how to overcome that?
Do you want to start since you have to go? Well, I think that, I think she said it, it's because when you find your passion, and then you both said it together, but I'm putting it together. When you find your passion and you know you want to do something, you never think about the fact that you're female. You just do it. It's literally as if you're walking through a tunnel and the walls are just like closed, and you just see the goal. And all those other things, they just kind of don't exist when you feel that strongly about something that you want to do. And so for me, that is how.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just say that, one of the things that I found being, in a director role is that there is an immediate sort of push to this idea that if you're firm, if you're, I won't say the B word, but the B word, if you're confident, you're aggressive, if you're loud, there are these words that get hurled at us that I don't think get assigned to men in leadership roles. And so I think it's, what's that book, The Lean In? I kind of say, you know what? I'm not going to say sorry all the time. I'm not going to say sorry that I am loud and I am direct and I am assertive and I know what my expectations are for my team. So I think it's trying to put aside those stereotypes about what you're expected to act like as a woman, and don't say sorry for asking for someone to do something. Don't always sort of, end it with an apology, or if you don't mind, be confident in the fact that you're in a leadership role. You can be polite and respectful, but I think we need to say it's okay to speak in a direct way like men do. It's okay.
Yeah, and I think it's just we're not the norm simply because somebody at some point said we weren't the norm. And so the only way that changes is if we ignore that and say, I don't care, I'm still going to do it.
Question? Back there.
Yes, this is specifically for Kontji, because you're in the public eye all the time, and you've made reference to the fact that what you wear matters. You cannot wear the same suit every day. Could you share some thoughts with us about ageism, not necessarily sexism, but the fact that if you are in the public eye, you have to maintain a certain look.
That is so true. I have found that women tend to kind of leave the business before men. And just like Alexis, most of my scrutiny comes from women. Those are the emails about, don't ever wear your hair like that again. Like you look really big in that. I mean, just everything from your weight to your hair to your makeup, clownish, or I've been called a Jezebel when I wore red lipstick. So you do deal with all of this, and yeah, there is ageism. I find, however, also there are some people who kind of stick it out. You have the Claudia Bars of the world, who she just kind of went above that whole number thing, and she did this forever. In Atlanta, Monica Kaufman, and I just find that everything you said is true. However, you can do it if you just continue and you just persist, because I think what happens in this role is that people tend to get to know you. They do. You're sharing everything, and so I think the community kind of directs when someone is often run out or they run out or they're told to leave. So, there was a situation, I'm not going to name names, but there was a female in this industry, in this town, who was on the way out, and some members of the community found out about it, and there was a full-on campaign, and this person is still in the business, and is, yes. So there, it's just persistence and just believing that you can do it. But you're right.
Yeah.
You all have good centers as far as what I'm seeing, because you obviously, it wasn't like you saw this big task and you wanted to overcome it. You were just who you are. I mean, that's kind of how I see it because of your personalities and your outspokenness. Having run Memphis Heritage for a number of years, the same thing with criticism and all that. But don't you think it takes that creating in women on an internal basis their own wealth and their own security of themselves and who they are, that self-knowledge that no matter what you do, you're going to be okay. And I mean, that's like therapy for everybody, but where do we start inserting that, if possible? If you're not, well, I felt like I was born with it, but basically, if you're not, what do you see can be done through education or whatever in strengthening?
I mean, I'll just say one of the things that the three of us were chatting about before we came up here was the idea that none of us feel particularly comfortable talking about ourselves, and so that this was a little bit of a shift for us. But when we talk about a topic that we're passionate about, we all sort of like open up and are okay with that. And so I think maybe the answer is trying to help girls at a younger age identify those passions through mentorship. There are great mentoring opportunities here in the city that we all need to participate in as working women. We need to help these young women identify. I mean, Alex didn't need the help because at 15 she knew she was going to be a distiller, but right, that love of bourbon at 15. But I think the more that we can help them identify with a passion, that it's almost like when you get into it that strong, nothing's going to deter you. I mean, once you're in that zone, you're going to keep powering through. And I'll tell you, there have been dark days where I've considered throwing the towel in, but knowing the animals that I help has kept me pursuing. You have to have something greater than you. It can't be about you wanting recognition or you wanting to feel good. You have to be driven by a cause. So what we can do is all of us as mentor women to identify their passion and then pursue it, just with vigor.
I recall when I was at WCBS in New York that there was a longtime anchor there who had heard that I got a job on the air, and he kind of, in so many words, just told me I was just kind of too heavy for television, and that I needed to, get skinny. And I've always felt that about myself. So it's something that I've not been able to overcome. I do have insecurities about that. However, the craft of, there's a story, parsing it down, figuring out who the people are that I want to, who can make the story whole, going out and videotaping it, talking to the people, interviewing people, and then writing the story. That's what I like to do. So the other stuff that does not fit the mold kind of fell by the wayside despite my insecurity about it. So I think there's no way around insecurity. You know, just, I mean, because there's somebody in grade school who said something and it doesn't quite leave ever. And you're like, I know that, but yeah, so I just think that the insecurity might be there, but if you love just the process of what you're doing, I think that also kind of voids it out a little bit. Yeah.
Other questions? Up in the back there.
Do you have any recommendations for authors or specific books that you use for professional development?
Silence.
All of us?
So actually, I'm currently reading, I've read 2 recently that have helped me a lot. And it's, let's see, the one is How to Be a Badass. That one was fantastic. And then right now I'm actually reading The Big Leap, which is about discovering what your passion is and how to do it. Stop limiting yourself and how to actually achieve it. And that one, I'm finding that one to be really, really good.
My all-time favorite book is The Alchemist, and that's kind of like an internal thing of constant growth, and so that's been a really big book in my life that I read every now and then. Yeah, I mean that's my book.
Pass.
Oh, also The Tipping Point is a fascinating read. The Tipping Point, it just kind of tells you what makes a trend, like what, and that's part of what we do in media,
No, I mean, I kid. There aren't any books. But and I'll tell you, the only reason why is in the field that I'm in, so much of where the learning is coming from is like in a conference setting, and it's through like webinars and engaging seminars and dialogue and discussion. So a lot of my learning comes from attending like national animal welfare conferences and things like that. Yeah, no, I'm not really good on this question, but I didn't want to dismiss it. It's a good question.
Alexis, I think you were the only one who didn't talk. In your profession, the ratio of women to men is roughly on a national level.
Sure. So I am the first female director of animal services in Memphis. But I will tell you, if you look nationally, there is a very heavy skew to females in animal welfare generally. Historically, that director role was sort of slotted for a male, and then everybody else was kind of female. But as progressive animal sheltering has taken shape, that nurturing female role has sort of a stronger presence. And when I go to these national conferences, 90% of the people speaking are women directors, women leaders. So my field is actually pretty embracing of female energy.
Right up there.
I would just love to know, for each one of you real quick, what's the best advice you've ever been given?
Never burn a bridge.
You got it. I know, yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
I have to be on live in like 23 minutes. So.
Say a long goodbye so we can think about it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's my name's Kontji Anthony. Watch me at 5, 6, and 10.
Thank you, Kontji. I was getting so nervous. I was really like looking at my clock going, does she know? Oh my God, what's gonna happen? I was really nervous.
I kind of was too.
I was really.
I was like, she needs to know. I think she was the
No,
one
it's
not
really
nervous.
very nice of her to thank you, Kontji. Thank you. To stay and push the limits on that. Not letting you off the hook. Well, it doesn't have to be. I mean,
I think a lot of the things that I put in my presentation are some of the sort of core mottos that I live by, that people have given me advice on, hire good people, get out of their way. My stepdad always told me, if you do what you love, the money will come. So don't pick a job because of the pay of the salary. Pick a job because it's what you want to do. That's a good one. All right, your turn.
Mine really was just always, find your passion and follow it. Don't compromise on that.
Other question right up here. Yeah.
Alex, I've loved visiting Old Dominick and enjoying the cocktail.
Thank you.
I just wonder what's the next on the horizon for Old Dominick. You've already introduced gin. You've already bringing out the human station. Just wonder what's next.
So we're continuing the R&D line that the gin started in, and actually today we released an oatmeal raisin cookie bourbon. It is as good as it sounds. It really is. So we're continuing that line, so I get to have a lot of fun with it. We are adding a permanent gin that'll come out on March 1st. If you do a tour at the distillery right now, you'll get a sneak peek at the label. And then we've got a couple more whiskeys coming out later this year, and then we're basically just trying to get ready for our estate-produced whiskeys, which should be coming out in 2022.
And Alexis, would you do a quick thing on volunteer opportunity, ways people can get engaged? Just a quick pitch on that.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, no. But I mean, if we're gonna pitch bourbon, we might as well pitch,
And they can go together beautifully. I enjoy sitting on my porch and drinking while my dogs hang out with me. No, so there's so many ways, and I think one of the great things that we've really tried to do at Animal Services is kind of meet you where you are. Because not everyone's ability to give is the same way. Some people maybe are allergic and can't have a pet, or their house is already full of pets, or things like that. So if you can think of an opportunity to give, we accept it. So whether that's a financial donation, a volunteering of your time, whether physically at Animal Services or from your home, we have online ways that you can do computer-based volunteer work. One of the coolest things I think we do now is all of our different fostering opportunities. We just did Valentine's Day sleepovers, so if you didn't have a Valentine, you could have one. So people picked up dogs on the night before Valentine's Day and kept them for the weekend, and it helped market them to adopters. If that's too long, if you don't want to do a sleepover, we do foster field trips. You can come in on a Saturday, take a dog out for 2 hours, go to Starbucks, go to a patio, your place is dog friendly outside? No?
I think they can sit at the bar.
There you go. I think we just planned a nice little Saturday for all of you. But yeah, and it's great because it helps market the animals to a potential adopter. Of course you can adopt. And one of the biggest things is share, connect with us on social and share that. The more eyes we have on, the better chance that while you may not be in the market to adopt a pet, you share it and your friend is who wasn't currently following us. So any way that you can help. And actually, when we're upstairs at the reception, we brought some flyers with just ways you can connect with us on social. So add us to your Twitter, your Instagram, your Facebook, be our friend. And and you can learn about all the ways that you can help. But even if it's just a click share, that helps us. So we appreciate it. Oh, and you can donate supplies and stuff too. We always take used towels and newspapers and things like that, and that's all on our website, and that's also listed on the brochure. So.
Any more questions as we go right here?
I have one for Alexis. You said that you, as a new mom, took over the MAS. And how did that go?
Well, luckily, I had no hormonal-driven crying to deal with. If my husband were asked, he would say that he remembers picking me up off the kitchen floor as I was in tears at the attacks. No, it was really hard. It really, it was hard because of wanting to, I stayed home for maternity leave and then coming back. It was hard, but I will also say that on the flip side, those of us who are mothers have a unique gift that not everybody gets, and that the comfort of a really bad day at work to get to come home and see my kid and see my baby. I honestly think that as difficult as being a new mother made it, I don't know if I would have made it through if I hadn't been a new mother, because she gave me such a sense of purpose and that balancing you're looking for in life, that while, what someone stranger says about me on Facebook does not out importance my child and my life. So, it was a tricky time. It was summer of 2016. Woo.
Yeah.
So for professional women who are also leaders, who are also moms, how
Yeah, I rely very heavily on my peer group of friends who are working moms. There's 4 of them sitting right there that came, hello friends, wave for me. It's my crew, y'all. And there's more, they are at work though. So I rely very heavily on that peer group. And so I hope that all of you have that, whether you're a mom or a working professional or whatever that looks like. Having that outlet, my husband is great, and he's really great because he'll watch the kid while I go have drinks with them. But we also try to spend time with our children, all hanging out together. So I think it's finding an outlet. For me, it's that friend group. For anyone else, make time for you. I mean, that's the most important thing I can say. If it's running, if it's playing tennis, if it's going to movies, if it's art, whatever that is, you have to make yourself a priority. If you're constantly worried about the work and doing for others, you're going to lose that joy, and bringing joy to your work is critical to your success. It's critical to your family, to your life. So I think the biggest thing I have done is I have said, it's okay that I worked all day and my husband is going to watch my child while I go to happy hour. That's okay. Not 5 days a week, but once every 2 or 3 weeks, I can do that. It's okay to do that and to take care of yourself. And I think that would be a piece of advice I would say, because when you don't have that break, that's when I think the emotional strain of it starts to really kick in and you feel overwhelmed by the weight of it. I don't know if that answers your question. I go drink. There you go. Convenient who I'm on a panel with, isn't it?
I'm sure many of you want to intercept them and talk to them, and they're going to, if you would just allow them to get upstairs, and then we have the conversation upstairs. At least one of them really, really, really wants a drink. So thank you all for being here.